So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hasn't actually officially endorsed anybody. She hasn't even really let us know where she's leaning in this current presidential race in the Democratic primary. But she let us know one thing. She let us know exactly how she feels about a Joe Biden presidency, and that doesn't bode well for the old guard. Now, in this recent article by USA Today, they illuminate some of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's article or comments. The article is entitled "Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says Joe Biden run in 2020 election doesn't quote unquote animate her." Not sure if that's how you use that word, but we'll just go with it. It sounded good in context. I'm sure when she said it, she probably said it really confidently, so nobody questioned her. But let's go ahead and continue. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has not decided which Democratic presidential hopeful she wants to see win the 2020 nomination. But there is one potential candidate she said doesn't animate her, and that's former Vice President Joe Biden. "I will support whoever the Democratic nominee is," the freshman Democrat from New York prefaced when asked her opinion of a Biden candidacy during the interview. It was with the Yahoo News Skullduggery podcast. But a Biden presidency does not particularly animate me right now, she said, citing a lot of issues. "I can understand why people would be excited about that. This idea that we can go back to the good old days with Obama and with Obama's vice president," she said. "There is an emotional element to that, but I don't want to go back. I want to go forward." The former vice president has not yet announced he is running, but many observers expect Biden, who leads most early polling, to enter the race to unseat President Trump. This is significant for a few reasons. Like the article said, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hasn't endorsed anybody, right? She hasn't really let us know any negative feelings about any of the candidates, to such a degree that some of the Democrats even believe that she's not going to endorse a progressive, whether that progressive be Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard. And to be honest, it'll probably be Bernie Sanders, given that she's from his home state. He's the one who inspired her to run. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's delusional to believe that she wouldn't endorse a progressive. But once again, that comes from her not letting anyone know really how she feels. She's been pretty much positive about all the Democratic candidates, except for Joe Biden, which once again leads us to question, how exactly is this polling being done? Which I've done several polling videos, so you should know exactly at this point how these polls are being done. They're being conducted by asking 50 and 60-year-olds who don't get on social media, where 50% of the country gets their news from, and saying, "Hey, you want that old guy, right? Well, which old guy? The guy with the white hair." And they're like, you mean the one with the accent? Yeah. The one who's been in, politics for a long time. Yeah, him. I want him. That guy. That's good. Cool. Write down Joe Biden. Is his name Bernie? No, his name's Joe. No, write down Joe Biden. Don't ask him any more questions. Just hang up the phone. That's how it probably gets done. But in all seriousness, they do seriously ask only 50 and 60-year-olds, and 50 and 60-year-olds tend to get their news from CNN and MSNBC, which is exactly how Joe appears to be in the lead, when in actuality, we all know that's just simply not true. And this is another example of that. The fact that AOC felt confident enough she hasn't felt confident enough to say that about any other Democratic presidential candidate, except for Joe Biden. Now, this could also have something to do with the fact that Joe Biden has made it pretty clear where he stands with millennials, which is pretty idiotic on his part, because I don't know where he's been getting his research from, probably the Center for American Progress, but millennials are the largest voting bloc in the country right now. And let's be honest, there's not really anybody right now who is more energized than the millennial base. And if there's nobody more energized than the millennial base, mind you, the Democratic primary, that's not where most voters vote. most people don't become engaged until the general election. But that conversely means that the most engaged people are voting in the primary election. And they've heard all of the snide comments that Joe Biden has made. More importantly, they're going to look into Joe Biden's history. They're going to look into the fact that he pushed the 3-strike drug bill that Bill Clinton used to basically continue the war on black people, where he then corrupted the DEA and the ATF and then took over all the U.S. attorneys where no one could challenge him across the country for his corruption. Joe Biden also pushed the Patriot Act. I mean, and apparently, and I have to reconfirm this because I read it the other day, but I did want to confirm it. But apparently, Joe Biden was like really anti-desegregation at one point. To Hillary Clinton Goldwater girl proportions. So for all of these reasons, I'm not surprised that AOC felt as comfortable as anyone else could, as anyone in her position could, saying, look, I mean, I'll do what I got to do, but Biden doesn't excite me. Now, with that being said, y'all know how I feel about that whole back whoever the Democratic nominee is. No. Now, if you're her, I kind of get it, because you know that there's not one piece of legislation that you're going to introduce that a Democratic president isn't going to sign if it comes across their desk. So from that perspective, it is pragmatic for her to back whoever the Democratic nominee is. However, you know what camp I'm in? I'm in the camp of it doesn't matter if you're a progressive, you don't get any legislation into the president's desk that you personally crafted in its original form without being corrupted by lobbyists, unless we have a progressive in the general who can galvanize the base to get other progressives elected in the House and in the Senate. So overall, I think AOC is spot on. I think her point is not only representative of how most people feel in Congress. I don't think that it's only representative of how millennials feel about Joe Biden. But I generally get the feeling that there is this power struggle right now within DC. There is the establishment, but there is a younger wing of the establishment who feels like it's their turn to give this whole good old college establishment try a chance. And then there's the old guard who doesn't want to let go. But that's because the old guard seems to be more in charge of foreign policy, right? They're more aligned with the old guard overseas. The military industrial complex, which is primarily made up of people who have been around for literally decades, like Elliot Abrams, like John Bolton. Oh man, I'm forgetting one of these guys' names. He's overseas, but just that class of establishment politicians, like Hillary Clinton, obviously, Bill Clinton. These people don't want to let go because they're already indoctrinated. So the younger crop are much more concerned with how they're viewed in the public eye, which makes them corruptible, but not as easy to corrupt as a generation who didn't have to exist and thrive in the age of social media, where they're constantly and continuously under the lens of the public eye. So, shout out to AOC. I know you don't want to and potentially can't endorse anyone this early, but I do greatly appreciate you setting the record straight on Joe Biden. And as a matter of fact, can I just go on record and say, with all of the things that have come out about Joe Biden in the last, month or so, if that was Bernie Sanders, if he was still even weighing the option to run again, there would be hit piece after hit piece after hit piece after hit piece, after hit piece, after hit piece. But once again, we saw, as we always see with the mainstream media, they had their little new shiny toy with the Joe Biden harassment claims. They did what they did. Then they stopped. It was on to the next thing. It's sad. It's ridiculous. The hypocrisy is just too much. I can't deal with it. It's so silly. Joe Biden should have been done. But, nothing like the hubris of an elite white politician who has got away with crime upon crime upon crime upon racism for his entire career and never been punished for it. In fact, he ended up being elevated to the vice president position. So, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. Thanks for watching that segment of Mika Says Sukasa. Don't forget to join us on Roku and catch our Roku exclusives. Also, help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and JustNForm.com. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.